Chapter 61 Purchase, Elemental Gems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Xin spent more than 3,000 points to redeem several items. Shield Warrior Lair, green after use, the Shield Warrior type can be summoned. Shield Warriors have strong defense and can be used as the front line of the army. Healer Troop Lair, blue after use, the troop healer can be summoned. Healers have healing abilities, and the combat endurance of armies with healers will be enhanced. Residential Blueprint, white after using it, you can build residential buildings, which are indispensable buildings in any territory. This residential blueprint Xia Xin directly exchanged for 50 pieces, the Shield Warrior type nest for 3 pieces, and the Healer type nest piece for 3 pieces. The residential blueprint costs 10 points each, which is very cheap. The Shield Warrior nest costs 200 points each, and the Healer's nest costs 600 points. The total cost is 2,900 points. Xia Xin exchanged the remaining points for some vegetables and grain seeds. After doing all this, Xia Xin exited the arena directly. Opening his eyes, Xia Xin saw Windsor and Dark Moon sleeping. Each of them had a leg on his body. Xia Xin smiled but did not move. There was no rest last night, and he was very tired. Without any extra movement, Xia Xin also started to sleep. Xia Xin felt someone pushing him. He opened his eyes drowsily and saw Windsor looking at him. "It's time to eat." "Ashen." Windsor whispered softly. After 2 consecutive days of either making ice or fighting, Xia Xin slept very deeply. "Now that I open my eyes, I'm still a little dazed." He rubbed his eyes and shook his head. When he was completely awake, he nodded towards Windsor. "I know, you guys eat first, I'll be there soon." Xia Xin then got up, washed and started eating. Sitting next to the table were Windsor, Dark Moon and Jasmine. Jasmine now lives in another bedroom and eats with them. Huohua and Xia Rui are not here, maybe they are playing outside. Xia Xin sat down to eat, which was some white porridge, steamed buns, and 2 light stir-fries. This is Xia Xin's order. He prefers something lighter in the morning. While eating, Xia Xin's friend alerted him to news. Xia Xin opened it and it was Li Qir. "Don't forget our agreement." Li Qir got straight to the point and reminded Xia Xin. At this time, Li Qir was lying on her bed, holding a glass in her hand, drinking some drinks in it. She doesn't dare to drink now. After all, the competition between the 2 realms is about to begin. "I know. I won't break my promise." Xia Xin replied. Although Li Qir knew that Xia Xin would not break his promise, she was still a little worried. She was completely relieved after seeing this reply. She closed the chat channel and walked outside. There were more than 20 people outside, both men and women. Especially the man at the head was tall, wearing heavy armor and holding a huge shield in his hand. When he stood up, he could cover Li Qir's entire body. This is an epic hero she obtained named Gru, a powerful shield warrior. Except for Gru, the other civilians were all wearing leather armor and holding bows and arrows. These are archers trained by Ricole herself. In her opinion, the most important thing in fighting at sea is to rely on long-range attacks. Looking at these people under her, Li Qir was full of confidence. Coupled with the alliance with other people, she felt that she would definitely gain a lot this time. On Xia Xin's side, he ordered the navigator Li Lu to take charge of the management of these civilians and let them all carry bows and arrows. Xia Xin also knew that sea battles mainly relied on long-range attacks, but he did not rely on these civilians to fight, but just told them to try to protect themselves. After all, after establishing a territory, it can't be done without its citizens. In this competition, he mainly relied on Windsor, Huohua and Xia Rui. Even Dark Moon is not very suitable to take action, so just let him hide in his shadow when the time comes. As a backup, after making arrangements, Xia Xin started today's resource fishing. Windsor had been helping him in the past 2 days, and now he wanted to try his luck again. Soon, the first item appeared. Xia Xin checked its information. Bridge construction drawing, green after use. A bridge can be built at the specified location. With it, your territory will be more connected. Construction requirements, stone *500, is this thing useful? Xia Xin was confused. Forget it, just use it in various ways at night. The second item is a prop, luxurious bath supplies, green it can improve your quality of life. Taking a bath will make you feel much better. This thing is okay. During this period, Xia Xin boiled the water himself and wiped it at will. Now he has a bathtub and an automatic water heater, which is very good. Even this thing requires power and a lot of water. After all, I can't bathe in sea water. Xia Xin thought for a while and decided to quickly solve the power supply problem and upgrade the seawater converter. However, it is still a bit wasteful to directly take a bath with purified water. Xia Xin is confused. Should Baibian change it too? At this time, the third item also came out. Xia Xin called two civilians and asked them to move the things to the small room where the items were stored, and then looked at the things in his hands. A bag. Xia Xin checked the information. Elemental gem, a special mineral that can be used in the construction of buildings and can also enhance certain special creatures. Hahaha, I actually got an elemental gem. Xia Xin was very happy, so that he could use it to upgrade Huahua and the others. Xia Xin opened the bag and checked it out. There were 35 fire element gems, 26 gold element gems, 12 water element gems, and 15 earth element gems. Xia Xin was very satisfied. He felt that this bag of gems was more valuable than the two items just now. He found Huahua, who was practicing his fiery body skill at the stern of the boat, while Xia Rui was sitting on the side of the boat watching Huahua. Seeing Xia Xin coming, the two of them quickly flew toward Xia Xin and landed on Xia Xin's shoulders. Xia Xin took out fire element gems and gold element gems. As soon as the two saw the gem, their eyes immediately lit up. Xia Xin knew from their looks that this thing would be useful to them. It seemed that in addition to the so-called spiritual crystals and amethysts, gems could also increase the level of elemental elves. He gave Huahua and Xia Rui a gem respectively, which was only the size of the thumb. Huahua still spit out flames from his mouth, melted the red gem, and then sucked it. Xia Rui was much more aggressive. Her white and tender hands turned into gold, and then she squeezed hard, and the gem turned into golden powder. Then she stretched out her little tongue and licked it continuously. Xia Xin put away the remaining gems and planned to wait until the competition between the two domains was over before giving them to them. He was worried that after the two of them ate all the gems, they would need to digest them to upgrade. If their combat power was affected, that would be bad. P.S. Thank you for your love letter from Uesha Duzwixian. Thanks to Sect Master Bai from Sunline Ancient City for sending the flowers. Thanks to Brother Yu, In Tian Flying, Zhao Tian Gang Chief Supreme Elder, Kuzu. Hanjiang Gaiying, Brother Jia, who loves spicy beef brisket pot, sent it down to generate electricity with love. Thank you for your support. Still asking for reminders, collections, and small gifts. If you think it's okay, I hope you can help recommend it in Shuhuang Square. Thank you. Chapter 62 View Information. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After eating the gems, Xia Xin asked Huahua to continue practicing her fiery body, and at the same time asked Xia Rui to practice her Genjin body. He thought about transforming Xia Rui into a hero in the future. Exercising Genjin's body now may help stimulate her physique and give her a greater chance of evolution. Since having Xia Rui, a gold elemental elf, Xia Xin had the idea of collecting other types of elemental elves and then cultivating them to evolve. It is very likely that there will be unexpected huge gains by then. This is Xia Xin's premonition, but he also understands that this is very difficult, but he is not in a hurry. He can pay attention to this matter in the future and do his best. Xia Xin spent the next time at the stern of the boat watching the two elves exercising until the Heavenly Mother made an announcement. Announcement to all. The competition between the two domains is about to begin. Please prepare yourself for the competition. Announcement to the whole. This competition between the two domains will adopt a confrontation mode between two armies, and positions will be allocated according to ranking. The first in ranking will be in the front. Announcement to all. In this competition between the two domains, you can also get merit points by killing the novice lords of the demon domain. Announcement to all. This competition ends after the total number of participants drops to 40%. Announcement to all, the competition between the two domains will begin in 5 minutes. I wish you all a successful start. After the announcement, Xia Xin began to analyze the information contained in these announcements. The first one is useless, but the second one is, what this information reveals is that you are likely to be ranked lower. This may be a good thing for others, after all, staying back means safer. However, staying back also means less gain. This is something Xia Xin doesn't want. He also wants to get more ship cores, which will be of great use in developing his own maritime fleet in the future. Now I can only pray that the binding between myself and Recol is based on Recol, so that I can stand in the front row. There are gains and losses. I didn't work hard to gain competitive points for Shiraishi, and now I have lost my top position. Well, let's see what happens then. The third reminder is that you will get merit points, which is the same as the last time you entered the demonic realm. However, through chatting with the negative god Mountain Turtle, he now understands the importance of this merit point. In Tianmu City, this thing has much greater purchasing power than Baishir. Therefore, this time he will definitely go on a killing spree, try his best to obtain the lords who kill the demon realm, and gain both ship cores and merit points. The information revealed in the fourth announcement is much colder, which means that an average of 6,000 people will die on both sides. Xia Xin estimated that this message would make many people fearful and choose not to participate in this fight. Tianmu did not force everyone who qualified to participate in the competition. Xia Xin opened the chat channel. Brothers, look at the announcement. This time it's a big fight. It's very tragic. No, I didn't expect that it would be a confrontation between the two armies. I thought they would be looking for each other just like last time. Oh, the announcement said it will end when it drops to 40%, which means 6 out of people will die. This is a bit high. I'm already planning to give up. It's too dangerous to go in. Haha, you coward. Wealth is gained through danger. If you survive this time, you will make a fortune. Some people want to give it a try, while others think they are not strong enough and have bad luck, and have already begun to retreat. However, most people still decided to enter and participate in the fight. After all, they were the first people. Most of them were ambitious and dared to kill and fight. Xia Xin took out the bracelet given by Li Qier and tied it on his wrist, quietly waiting for the teleportation to arrive. Xia Xin took this time to check the strength of his side. He had not paid attention to it for several days. Windsor, Legend, Rating, 7. Strength, 60, plus 18 plus 6, Agility, 67, plus 5, Defense, 67. Wisdom, 60. Magic Value, 600, plus 180, Occupation, Hero, Bringer of Light, Skills, Healing, Light Arrow, Light Shield, Entangle, Blue, Confusion, Blue, Equipment, Xuanguang, Purple, Hairpin, Green, Loyalty, 100. Affinity, 98, Admiration. After these few days of hunting, Windsor has reached level 7. What caught Xia Xin's attention was that Windsor's attributes actually increased by 10 points, instead of only increasing by 5 points as usual. Xia Xin was keenly aware of the hidden information behind this. Once the attributes were doubled, it meant that the gap between those with lower quality and those with higher quality would further widen. I just don't know if the general level will be doubled in the third stage. If it is doubled, it will be terrifying. Xia Xin then checked Dark Moon's information again. Dark Moon, Legendary, Level, 5. Strength, 50, plus 5, Agility, 52, plus 5, Defense, 50. Wisdom, 49. Mana, 490. Occupation, Hero, Night Hunter. Skills, Dark Blade, Dark Corrosion, Moon Shadow, Shadow Lurk, Blue, Equipment, Shadow Blade, Green, Loyalty, 100. Affinity, 75, Close. Dark Moon has been upgraded to level 5. Due to taking the Genius debuff, her attribute values are obviously much higher, basically reaching. Normally legendary heroes only have attribute levels at level 6, at this stage, the improvement of heavenly materials and earthly treasures is relatively obvious, but in the future, when the level is high, the attributes of 1 or 2 geniuses and earthly treasures will be insignificant compared to their own attributes at that time. Finally, Xia Xin checked Xiaolan's information. Little Blue / Deep Sea Giant Whale, Purple, 30 meters long, rating, 7. Power, 50. Agility, 45. Defense, 46. Skills, impact. Bite, Wave, Xiaolon has also been upgraded to level 7, and it has one more skill. It seems that the skills of pets will awaken on their own. I don't know if Huohua can awaken her skills after she transforms into a hero, but seeing as she can still evolve on her own, she should be able to awaken her skills. Only after she upgrades can we really know for sure. Xia Xin then checked the levels of civilians and found that most of them had reached level 5. After all, they were fishing every day. After a while, Xia Xin's ship changed. This time it turned into a white background with blue stripes. A space gate appeared in front. Without any hesitation, Xia Xin directly gave the order and began to enter. Xiaolon took the lead, followed by Lu Chuan. His eyes were dimming and brightening, and his mind was in a trance. After waking up, Xia Xin had already arrived at the venue where the two domains competed. The first thing he saw was a transparent light curtain in front of him. Behind the light curtain were ships with black background and red stripes, neatly arranged and densely packed, with no edges visible. The shape of the ship at the front seemed to Xia Xin to be a level 6 wooden ship. Wow, Xia Xin, you are too perverted. At this moment, Xia Xin heard an exclamation. Chapter 63 Open, Snow White. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Turning around, she saw Ricole standing on her wooden boat, looking at her with wide eyes. Xia Xin smiled and said, Liqueur, I have to thank you this time for taking advantage of you, otherwise I wouldn't be able to occupy such a good position. This is Xia Xin's innermost thoughts. He is indeed grateful to Liqueur. If it weren't for Liqueur's props, he would be behind now, which would affect his harvest. Liqueur smiled slightly, rolled her eyes, and said slyly, then how about we share the gains from the Alliance's victory over the Demon Lord this time? Xia Xin smiled and said, I won't let you suffer when the time comes. Xia Xin looked careless. Naturally, it was impossible for him to agree to share the harvest equally. Just now he glanced at the people on Rico's deck. Although there were more people than him, it was clear that their strength was much inferior to his own. He definitely can't agree to the other party's request. He won't do a loss-making business. When the time comes, he will just give her something that is not important to him and regard it as returning this small favor. Hearing Xia Xin's words, Liqueur curled her lips. Although she knew that Xia Xin would not agree to her conditions, she thought that at least she would give herself some expression, but she didn't expect that Xia Xin only said a few empty words that seemed to be useful. TCH. How stingy. Liqueur said, Hey, are you cheating? How come there are so many high-quality characters? This was what she was saying. She just blurted out that Xia Xin was a pervert. It can be seen that she was so surprised when she saw Xia Xin's strength that she couldn't control her emotions. Anyone who sees a building ship, 2 legendary heroes, and a golden pet will be surprised. This is why Xia Xin has hidden part of his strength. Xiaolan is lurking at the bottom of the sea, and Dark Moon is lurking in his shadow. How could I cheat? With Heavenly Mother's supervision, who can cheat under her nose? Xia Xin glanced at Liqueur angrily. I'm just lucky. To be honest, the last sentence is Xia Xin's true words. He really thinks that he is lucky. Although he was just a wooden board at the beginning, it was a blessing and a disaster. If not for the compensation that Heavenly Mother gave him, he would not be where he is today. Liqueur naturally believed that Xia Xin did not cheat. Asking that question just now was just a sign of a little imbalance in her heart. At this time, another wooden boat appeared next to Liqueur. It looked like it was also a level 6 wooden boat. Xia Xin Liqueur looked over at the same time. Bai Xue. You're a little slow here. Rico said. Something happened, which delayed a little time. Bai Xue said. You don't mind that I brought in other allies without consulting you, do you? Liqueur turned to Xia Xin and looked pitiful. She originally wanted to tell Xia Xin, but she was worried that Xia Xin would not agree to adding more allies, so she hid it. Therefore, Liqueur is still quite worried that Xia Xin has opinions about her. Does Xia Xin mind? Nonsense, of course I mind. Without informing herself, she directly made her own decision. To put it harshly, Li Qiu regarded herself as the leader. This made Xia Xin feel a little uncomfortable, but he didn't show it. Anyway, the matter is over. The most important task now is to cooperate to kill the Demon Lord in order to gain more gains. Let's wait until this matter is over to talk about other things. Anyway, Xia Xin decided that if he cooperated with Li Qiu again in the future, he would have to keep an extra hand. This girl is not an honest person. It's okay, one more person will help you. Xia Xin said with a smile. Li Qiu felt bad when she heard Xia Xin say this. It would be okay if Xia Xin showed his dissatisfaction, but now Xia Xin has not expressed anything, which proves that this incident has left a thorn in Xia Xin's confidence and may affect future cooperation, but now is not the time to solve this problem. Li Qiu can only pretend not to know, thinking about waiting for this matter to be over before finding a way to mend the rift between the two. Then you come to my boat first. I'll introduce Bai Shui to you, so we can get to know each other better. Li Qiu extended the invitation. Xia Xin looked at the transparent barrier in front of him and estimated that he would have to wait until the barrier was lifted before he could really start, so Xia Xin stepped onto the wooden plank placed between the two ships with Huohua and walked towards the other side's ship. The reason why he went over was that he believed that Li Qiu would not take action against him. After all, the two interests were related now. Secondly, of course it's because there is a dark moon around me. After arriving at the opponent's deck, Xia Xin sat on the wooden bench and glanced at some fruits and drinks on the table without doing anything. Li Qiu said, "This is Bai Shui. I know her very well and can trust her." Xia Xin nodded slightly towards the other party and looked at the other party. Bai Shui is wearing a white dress and has long black hair. At first glance, she gives people a sense of perseverance. It seems that this girl is a very resilient person. Li Qiu then turned to Bai Shui and said, "Xia Xin, you don't need me to introduce you, right?" Bai Shui smiled slightly. "Of course, this is the pride of our Zhou country, and I naturally know it." After Bai Shui finished speaking, he extended his hand and said, "I hope we can have more opportunities to cooperate in the future." Although Xia Xin was a little surprised by Bai Shui's enthusiasm, he did not refuse. He shook the other person's hand and it was instant. Seeing Bai Shui's slightly surprised eyes, Xia Xin naturally understood what the other party was thinking. It's nothing more than thinking that he is a gentleman enough and not taking advantage of him. Xia Xin smiled. Of course he wouldn't take advantage of it. Not to mention that I have two beauties like Windsor and Dark Moon. Even if he doesn't, he will not have any further relationship with them who are also lords. They are limited to cooperation. Let me introduce myself first. Ricole said. My profession is an archer, and my talent is Eagle Eye, which allows me to better target my opponents. She then introduced her hero Gru. After Li Qiu finished speaking, Bai Shui continued, my profession is the wood element user, I can control plants, and my talent is wood element affinity. This talent allows me to use wood skills with twice the result with half the effort and exert greater power. However, when fighting at sea, my strength will be affected to some extent. I can only use the wooden shield technique and the wooden arrow technique. My hero is a legendary level, a berserker, level 5, and his skills are all close quarters skills. Xia Xin glanced at Bai Shui in surprise. He didn't expect that the other party actually had a legendary hero, and he was also a berserker. When Xia Xin met Jeseni, he was a berserker, and he left a deep impression on him. Chapter 64 The Two Shocked Women. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Xia Xin listened to the introductions of the two people, he naturally would not completely think that the other party had these strengths. Everyone would have a trump card. Seeing the two people looking at him, Xia Xin understood that they wanted him to introduce his situation. Xia Xin naturally had no objection and said directly, then let me introduce my situation. I have two heroes, one is the light elemental messenger, a legendary hero, and the other is the fire elemental elf, a legendary hero. Ignoring the shocked looks in their eyes, Xia Xin continued. In addition to the two heroes, I also have two pets. One is a legendary pet, which is a gold elemental elf, and one is an epic pet, which is a deep-sea giant whale. Since Huohua transformed into a hero, Xia Xin no longer regards her as a pet. Xia Xin hid the fact that he and Dark Moon, the legendary hero, had to keep some trump cards. However, even so, Ricole and Bai Shui were naturally shocked beyond measure. It's not that they didn't know that Xia Xin was strong, but they didn't expect that Xia Xin was so strong. The three legendary subordinates, compared with Xia Xin, they are simply as big as heaven and earth. This is my main force, and the rest are some civilians. Xia Xin continued. You are such a pervert. How can you be so lucky to have three legendary heroes? Li Qier looked at Xia Xin with envy and hatred. She was too unbalanced. Bai Shui immediately nodded in agreement. Xia Xin's strength also exceeded her imagination. Originally, he was second in points and Xia Xin was first in points, although there was a big difference in points. She also thought that Xia Xin might have been lucky and had made some kind of windfall. His own strength may not be much different from his own, now I know that. Xia Xin's strength far exceeds his own, and he can't even defeat his men. However, she still felt a little dissatisfied with wanting to be strong. Then how strong are they? Bai Shui asked. What determines strength is not only quality, but also level. Li Qier's eyes lit up when she heard this. It felt really uncomfortable to face a big cave. She urgently needed some breathing. However, Xia Xin disappointed them. One legendary hero is level 7 and the other is level 6. The legendary level pet is level 5 and the epic level 1 is level 7. Xia Xin did not hide this information. Li Qier and Bai Shui were stunned after hearing this. They were both at level 7. Impossible, how could you level up so fast? Li Qier exclaimed. You know, she only managed to upgrade to level 6 by letting her men fish and then hunt by herself, and Xia Xin actually has such high-level subordinates. Oh, I ordered a diving technology, and I go hunting in the sea every day. The upgrade is a little faster. Hearing Li Qier's doubts, Xia Xin responded in an understatement. Seeing the two people looking at him like monsters, Xia Xin felt a little uncomfortable. You don't have to look at me like that, right? What about you? Where is your own strength? Bai Shui asked reluctantly. Oh, I'm not strong enough. I'm only level 5, and my profession is ice elemental user. They were relieved to hear that Xia Xin was only level 5, then there was some confusion. Since his subordinates are so strong, why is Xia Xin only level 5? Li Qier asked her doubts. Oh, you should also know that the improvement of attributes after upgrading is related to the individual's talent quality, right? Li Qier, Bai Shui and the others nodded, and then suddenly realized, I understand that Xia Xin wants to wait for the quality to improve before upgrading, so that he can get more attributes. Originally, they wanted to ask Xia Xin if he wasn't afraid of being in danger if he didn't upgrade. Then when I thought about the strength of Xia Xin's men, I felt a tightness in my chest, which was extremely uncomfortable. With such a strong subordinate, there is no need to rush to upgrade. Anyway, there is danger and there are subordinates. Xia Xin looked at the two people who were depressed by his introduction, feeling secretly happy and a little funny at the same time. He looked around and saw that during the time the three of him were communicating, there were already more and more ships. Xia Xin browsed around, stood up, and frowned slightly. Most of the ships that appeared later were level 3, 4, and even level 2. As someone who was in the top, it was strange that there were ships of this level. Xia Xin was confused as to why they were not arranged according to ranking as Heavenly Mother said. If he goes by what Heavenly Mother said, he should be surrounded by the top 10 people, and the ship should be at least level 5 and 6, right? Li Qier and the others saw Xia Xin standing up and asked, what's wrong? Xia Xin expressed his doubts. Li Qier and the others were equally puzzled and thought about it for a moment. Bai Shui said, there is only one possibility in this situation, and that is that the top 10 of us were teleported separately. Each person leads a team. The three of us came together because of Ricole's props. Xia Xin quite agrees with this idea, but at the same time, he still had a little regret in his heart. He originally thought that he would be able to meet Wako and Nina in this competition between the two domains, so that he could take the opportunity to deal with him, so as not to annoy yourself by chattering in the chat channel in the future. Since it can't be solved now, let's wait until the war starts before looking for an opportunity. After all, he is also one of the team leaders, so there should be a high chance of running into him, and he will be given a happy surprise when the time comes, Xia Xin secretly planned. Okay, now that we understand each other's strengths, let's talk about how to distribute them. Xia Xin said. Of course whoever kills the Lord gets the spoils, said Li Qir. Yes, we just need to help each other and prevent others from attacking. Bai Shui agreed. What if we kill them together? Xia Xin said. Whoever contributes more will get the big head, and the others will get the small head. Li Qir responded without thinking. Xia Xin looked at Bai Shui, and Bai Shui nodded. Obviously she also agreed with this allocation method. Xia Xin naturally had no objection. He was very strong and couldn't suffer any loss anyway. That's it, it's probably going to start soon, so I'm going back to prepare, Xia Xin said, then turned and walked towards his boat, looking at Xia Xin's back. Bai Shui and Li Qir looked at each other, seeing helplessness and happiness in each other's eyes. Unfortunately, he obviously can't take the lead in this small group of 3 people. Xia Xin's side is too strong. Fortunately, there is a strong person like Xia Xin in my small group, which will be of great benefit to me in the future, and after a while of chatting, it can be seen that Xia Xin is a pretty good person, and he is someone who can cooperate with him for a long time. Li Qir, I'm going back too. Bai Shui calmed down and said, P.S., thanks to Baihu, who loves glutinous rice, for sending me the inspiration capsule. Thanks to Yin Tian Fei Xian, Hui Tsong Ju Elder Qingfeng, sent by user 10002102 to generate electricity with love. Thank you for your gift support. In addition, I request you to urge more updates and comment more. Please take a few minutes to give this book a good review. Very important. Thanks. Chapter 65. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Snow White leaves. Rico was now on the deck, with Gru standing behind her. At this time, she was staring at the transparent barrier in front of her, her eyes wandering, obviously thinking about something. She was thinking about what method she should use when getting along with Xia Xin again in the future, especially since she concealed her allies this time and caused a rift between herself and Xia Xin. The eyes changed, hesitant, afraid, determined, and finally turned firm. She wanted to take a gamble, and she thought she could be right, but all this will have to be discussed after this competition is over. Xia Xin returned to the deck, and Windsor came towards him. He looked worriedly at Xia Xin up and down, and then breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that he was not injured. Xia Xin felt slightly warm in his heart when he saw Windsor's worried look. It feels good to have someone thinking about you and caring about you. I'm fine, get ready. The war is probably going to start soon. Xia Xin opened his mouth and gave instructions, then he walked towards the bow of the ship and looked at the barrier in front of him. Windsor stood next to him, while Huohua and Xia Rui sat on his shoulders. Time flies. The transparent barrier fluctuated for a while, gradually becoming thinner until it disappeared. Xia Xin's eyes narrowed. The ships in the demonic domain ahead began to move. The black and red striped hulls were lined up in rows, and there was an inexplicable pressure. As the other party approached, Xia Xin could even hear shouts. At this time, the lords of the spiritual domain camp also began to shout, and their voices were loud and powerful. Rico took the lead and the ship began to move. Xia Xin Baishua followed closely behind. The entire spiritual domain camp moved, and thousands of ships competed. Above the sea, a long black and red line, and a long white and blue line, quickly approached each other. An arrow shot out. 2 arrows flew past. Magic of various colors began to collide. Long fleets of ships began to collide. Xia Xin was equipped with light shield, fire shield technique, golden shield technique, and his own shield, which was a total of 4 lines of defense. The same is true for Windsor and Huohua. Xia Rui. You can never be too careful in a chaotic battle. Xia Xin released a water arrow technique, killing 1 person in 1 blow and taking away 1 person on the wooden boat. Opposite, Windsor's light arrows, fire and fireball skills, Xia Rui's sharp arrow skills, and the civilians' bows and arrows all poured towards each other. The ships facing Xia Xin were instantly blinded by Xia Xin's powerful lethality. The other lord was killed by Windsor in a single encounter. As the opponent was killed, Xia Xin heard Tianmu's prompts in his ears. Xia Xin didn't have time to care. He only had time to make the choice of destruction, then the wooden boat turned into a white light and disappeared without a trace, leaving only a few corpses floating on the sea. Xia Xin began to attack other wooden ships. Almost all the ships would be defeated by Xia Xin and the others soon. Gradually, everyone around them began to notice Xia Xin and the others. In fact, some people noticed Xia Xin and the others from the beginning. After all, he was the only one who was building a ship, but at that time, those people were mainly focused on the battle in front of them. But now Xia Xin and the others' invincible performance is really eye-catching. Seeing Xia Xin rampaging through the fleet, a white man with brown hair and blue eyes on a level 6 wooden ship in the demon realm felt a little bad. His name is Kijinal. He frowned, as the loss on his side was too great, although it didn't have much impact on him at the moment. However, as a leader among newcomers in the demon realm, he also understands that the demon realm's losses are too great. When he establishes a territory in the future, the strength of the demon realm will have an impact on him. After all, environment and resources determine the upper limit of achievement. Attack towards that building ship. He raised his hand and issued an order. Yes, my lord. The wooden boat moved and began to sail towards Xia Xin. Kijiner naturally noticed that Xia Xin's wooden boat was more advanced than his own, but he was not very worried because a high-end wooden boat did not necessarily mean a strong one. He believed that he could deal with Xia Xin and the others, not to mention that he had a trump card. After Xia Xin destroyed a ship again, he also noticed Kijiner heading towards him. Although the opponent was a level 6 wooden ship, Xia Xin did not take it lightly. Level 6 wooden boats should be the best in the demon realm, and they belong to the leading group. Maybe they have some weird props, and they can't capsize in the gutter. Xiaolan, lurk over there, enter the bottom of the opponent's ship, and launch an attack. Xia Xin thought for a while and told Xiaolan to go over. Xiaolan is huge, almost the same size as the opponent's wooden boat. If he is caught by surprise, he will definitely cause huge trouble to the opponent. After Xiaolan heard it, she swam towards the other party in the sea. Of course, Kijiner didn't know Xiaolan's existence. He took out a prop and handed it to a short and skinny man next to him, then he ordered to him, "You will see the opportunity later and attack the other lord. You must kill him with one strike. Do you understand?" "Don't worry, sir, I won't miss it." This is a hero under Kaijin, named Mocha. His profession is a stalker and he is best at assassination. Kaijin nodded. He was still very confident in his hero. Watching Mocha gradually turn invisible and disappear, coupled with the short-lived prop he just had, he looked at Xia Xin's boat with a sneer on his face. Xia Xin naturally didn't know all this, but Bai Shui, who was not far away, saw Mocha disappear. Looking at the other party moving towards Xia Xin, how could Bai Shui not understand Kaijiner's plan? She immediately started driving in the direction of Xia Xin, wanting to notify Xia Xin. At this time, Xia Xin and Kaijin were already relatively close. After Huohuan noticed it, he immediately started to attack, and fired a fireball towards Kijiner. But this skill was blocked by another hero next to Kaijin. This hero is called Sherpan, who belongs to the Rock clan and has very strong defense. He holds a silver giant shield and blocked Huohua's fireball technique. Xia Xin looked at the other party, his eyes brightening slightly. Unless this hero of the Rock tribe was a legend, he would not be able to block this attack without moving a single step. However, Xia Xin believes that it is unlikely that he is a legendary hero, and it should be the function of this shield. However, even so, the level of this hero itself is not low. Xia Xin turned his eyes and thought that his side was full of people with strong offensive skills and no one with strong defensive capabilities. If he could conquer him, he could make up for one of his shortcomings. However, there has been no situation where hostile forces have been subdued so far, and it is not known whether they can succeed, but give it a try. Xia Xin ordered, on the premise of ensuring your own safety, try not to kill that person. Windsor and the others didn't know Xia Xin's plan, but this did not affect them from obeying Xia Xin's orders. Chapter 66 Sneak Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Windsor took action and released a light arrow. Sherpan raised the giant shield in his hand and blocked it again. The other person next to him is a woman wearing a green skirt. Her name is Rueli and she is an archer. I saw her bending her bow and setting an arrow, and a green arrow shot towards Xia Xin. After shooting one arrow, she then performed a 3-star chain and shot out 3 more arrows. 4 arrows were aimed at Xia Xin and the others. The first arrow was destroyed by Xia Rui's sharp arrow technique, the second arrow hit Windsor's light arrow, and the third arrow hit Xia Xin's water arrow technique. The last arrow landed on Xia Xin, but unfortunately it didn't even break the shield, it just caused a ripple. Seeing this scene, Kaijiner and Rueli both looked a little ugly. Unexpectedly, he couldn't even break through the opponent's most basic defense. Especially Kaijiner, he was even more worried. If Mocha couldn't break Xia Xin's shield, it would be trouble. Kaijin felt a little regretful, but at this time he was already riding a tiger, and even if he wanted to leave, Xia Xin would not let him go. At this point, all we have to do is give it a try, and if we succeed, it will be a big gain. Attack the opponent. Kaijiner gave an order, and the civilians behind him began to bend their bows and arrows to attack Xia Xin. Kaijiner did not take action, because his profession was a priest and he only had healing skills and no attack capabilities. When he first got this profession, he was very depressed. His ideal was to sail across the sea and be invincible in the world, but it didn't work out and he could only be a wet nurse. Xia Xin and the others also started to fight back, firing water arrows, fireballs, light arrows, etc. continuously. At this moment, Kaijiner's wooden boat suddenly shook violently, and the entire boat shook. The sudden impact made everyone unsteady and staggered. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xia Xin and the others immediately attacked. Windsor first released the binding technique and used the light rope to control the stone plate. Huohu defeated Rueli with a fireball technique. The most exciting thing was Xia Rui. She spit out some strange syllables, and then golden dots appeared in the air. Xia Rui waved her staff, and all the golden dots began to fall, forming a golden rain that rushed into the ranks of Kaijin civilians. In an instant, all civilians who were attacked by golden rain were either killed or injured. Xia Xin was also surprised when he saw this scene. He didn't expect Xia Rui's golden rain skill to be so lethal. However, Xia Xin took this opportunity to also release the freezing technique and control Kaijiner. Until then, Xiaolan was still bumping into the opponent's wooden boat, and Kaijiner and the others were unable to effectively stabilize it. At this time, Xia Xin saw Kaijiner and suddenly smiled. Xia Xin was confused at first. Was there something wrong with the other person's mind? Then his heart convulsed and he had an unpleasant feeling. At this moment, Xia Xin heard an exclamation. Xia Xin, be careful. Xia Xin's peripheral vision caught sight of Bai Shui, who looked nervous. Before he could react, a sharp blade suddenly appeared in front of Xia Xin. It is like a cake cut with butter. All shields are no match for it and can be easily broken. After breaking through the third layer of shield, the opponent's figure was also revealed. It was Mocha. The sharp blade in Mocha's hand is a blue-quality weapon. It is engraved with a skill called shield breaking, which has extra damage to defensive shields. However, this skill can only be used once a day, and now it is being used by Mocha against Xia Xin. It sounds slow, but actually it happens in the blink of an eye. Xia Xin could even see the cruelty and ferocity in Mocha's eyes. But he was very calm. Although he was taken aback, he didn't panic. When Mocha looked at Xia Xin like this, he thought he was frightened by her, so he was stunned. At this moment, another sharp blade appeared and stabbed directly into Mocha's neck. Blood splattered and was everywhere on Xia Xin's clothes. Mocha only felt a chill on his neck and his whole body lost all strength. When he was dying, he saw a red-haired catwoman looking at him coldly. Xia Xin looked at Mocha, who fell to the ground, reached out and picked up the sharp blade in his hand, then picked up Mocha's body and threw him into the sea. He appraised the sharp blade in his hand. Wind-breaking blade, blue increases strength by 20%. The engraving skill breaks the shield and increases the shield breaking effect by 200% when used. It can be used once a day. This shield breaking skill is quite abnormal. No wonder his shield looks like paper. Xia Xin gave this equipment directly to Dark Moon, and she was the only one who was most suitable. Tip: Dark Moon's affinity for you is +5. It actually adds 5 points of affinity. which is good. Dark Moon held the broken wind blade and was very happy, but she didn't show much of anything and instead entered Xia Xian's shadow again. After finishing all this, Xia Xian looked at Kaijin with cold eyes. Although he did not die this time, it was because he had the backup man Dark Moon. Even so, he felt like he had escaped from the gate of hell. He had never been so close to death. Now that he was safe, Xia Xian felt scared, and there was a thin layer of sweat on his back. Kill Kaijiner. Xia Xian said. After hearing this, Windsor took action without hesitation, and even Huahua and Xia Rui took action with anger. The dangerous situation just now also scared Windsor and the others, and now they want Kaijiner to die quickly. Kaijiner originally saw Mocha's appearance and was so powerful that he thought he was going to kill Xia Xian. Unexpectedly, he was killed by a catwoman who suddenly appeared, leaving him in vain. When he saw the gazes of Windsor and the others, his whole body trembled and he was terrified. The next moment, all three of Windsor Huahua's attacks fell on him. Even the green quality armor on his body failed to save his life and he died directly. Then Xia Xian directly chose to destroy the opponent's wooden boat. With a flash of white light, the wooden boat decomposed. Everyone on the other side's ship fell into the sea. Xia Xian brought up a few of the living people, who would be his subordinates from now on. Sher Pan, do you choose to die or follow me? Xia Xian came to Sher Pan and said straight to the point, once the Lord dies, the heroes he belongs to will be liberated, and loyalty will naturally not exist. As for revenge for the Lord, that depends on the affinity level. If the affinity level is high, even if the Lord is killed, the hero will not give in, but will become even more unyielding. Obviously, Kaijin didn't get along very well with heroes, and Sher Pan knelt down on one knee without much hesitation. He said angrily, Sher Pan is willing to follow the Lord. Xia Xian nodded, then looked at several other civilians. What about you? That everyone bowed their heads and expressed their willingness to follow. Chapter 67 One-sided. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There was no way, they had no other choice in this situation. Apart from following the new Lord, there was only a dead end. Kaijiner was not worthy of their burial. Xia Xian nodded with satisfaction. These civilians had just surrendered and were not very loyal, but Xia Xian believed that as time went by, they would become more loyal to him. Only then did Xia Xian look at Bai Shue's ship that came near him. Thank you for reminding me just now, that if it hadn't been for Bai Shue's reminder, Dark Moon might not have taken action in such a timely manner. Just now, it was a matter of life and death, and 1 second could determine life or death. Therefore, Xia Xian is still very grateful to Bai Shue. Bai Shue looked at Xia Xian with a complicated expression, although she knew that Xia Xian would not tell her all his strength, just like she would hide something, but she never expected that Xia Xian was hiding a legendary hero, and judging from his strength, his level was not very low, but she soon calmed down and her complexion returned to normal. You're welcome, we have an agreement. Bai Shue said, if you really want to thank me, why not give me something nice? Finally, Bai Shue said teasingly. Although Xia Xian knew that these were Bai Shue's teasing words, he still listened to them. This can be regarded as a life-saving grace. We can't owe such a big favor in vain. He pondered for a moment, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and a small ball appeared in his hand. Wood Element Talent Mutation Ball, blue. After use, the wood element-related talents will be positively mutated, and there is a very small probability that the talents will be improved. Note: this item is limited by quality and is only effective for talents of excellence and below. This was something he got his hands on some time ago, but it was of little use to him. Now it was just the right thing to use to thank Bai Shue. Bai Shue's talent happens to be affinity with the wood element, so she can use this item just right. Xia Xian threw the thing towards Bai Shue and said, this thing is just to thank you for reminding me. Bai Shue took the prop, checked the information, and was shocked. She thought it was an ordinary object, but she didn't expect it to be a truly precious item. Although she knew it would be of great use to her, she didn't want to accept it. As the saying goes, no merit will be rewarded. She just reminded her. She didn't think that this sentence could get such a valuable tool. What's more, she understood what Xia Xian meant by giving her this thing, and made it clear that he didn't want to owe her any favors. Bai Shue is not a short-sighted person. She can see that Xia Xin will definitely have high achievements in the future, so naturally she will not let go of this opportunity to make Xia Xin owe her a favor. You must know that the most difficult thing to repay is a debt of gratitude, so she threw the prop back directly, fearing that Xia Xin would refuse, so she quickly spoke. This thing is indeed useful to me, but I don't think my credit is worthy of it. If you really want to thank me, then keep this prop for me and exchange it with you when I have the right item. How about it? Xia Xin took the mutated ball and smiled bitterly in his heart. He could probably guess Bai Shui's thoughts, but at this point, he couldn't force a gift. He had no choice but to say, okay, I'll keep this thing for you, and you can come to me to replace it later. Bai Shui smiled slightly, so that there was a bond between herself and Xia Xin. In the future, the relationship would naturally deepen. There is no harm to oneself. In that case, I won't wait any longer. Goodbye. After Bai Shui finished speaking, he quickly joined the battlefield again. Xia Xin shook his head. The matter had come to this, and there was nothing he could do. But this is not a bad thing. Through such an incident, it can be seen that Bai Shui is someone who can cooperate in depth. After gathering his thoughts, Xia Xin said, let's go and get on with it. Xia Xin joined the battlefield again. As time goes by, the battle situation gradually becomes more and more intense. It is no longer a clear-cut confrontation. The two lords of the spiritual realm and the demonic realm have me among you, and you among me, presenting a crisscross situation. However, since Xia Xin killed Kajiner, the leader in this area, the humidity in the demon realm dropped somewhat. Coupled with Xia Xin, Li Qir, and Bai Shui, the three of them relied on their strong strength to charge left and right among the people in the demon realm. And the lord of the spiritual realm became famous. The overwhelming force began to attack the demon realm lord, and each demon realm ship turned into white light and disappeared. From time to time, a few living civilians could be seen swimming in the sea. Various attacks are constantly blooming, and various strange props are competing for the stage. There were many things that surprised Xia Xin, such as gourds that could temporarily immobilize ships after being dropped, release white smoke to make people faint, and even strange props that turned people into animals. All these things opened Xia Xin's eyes, and at the same time, he secretly warned himself that he must be careful in the future. The world is too deep and there are too many strange things. If you are not careful, you will get caught. Soon, the demon lords in Xia Xin's area could not withstand Xia Xin's strong offensive and began to retreat. Naturally, Xia Xin and the others would not let go and began to pursue the victory. It can be clearly seen that the black and red ships begin to retreat towards the surrounding battlefield, like an irregular black and red arc. This arc fell into the surrounding area and collided with them, naturally causing ripples. Xia Xin saw that the defeated people and the surrounding demon lords would get together, so he didn't care and continued to attack. The two battlefields began to merge together. Xia Xin noticed that the leader of the spiritual domain lords on this battlefield was a level 6 wooden boat. There were a total of 50 civilians on the wooden boat. They were all wearing leather armor and holding bows and arrows. Xia Xin was surprised. He didn't expect that there were so many civilians, and he didn't know how he could provide them with food, but Xia Xin was just surprised. Everyone has their own adventures, and Xia Xin would not be arrogant and think that he was the only one with good luck. Just like Bai Shui, don't we also have legendary heroes? The lord of this ship also surprised Xia Xin, because this lord now actually looks like a lion orc. He was carrying a leather bag on his back, which contained javelins about 1 meter each. He was throwing the javelins with all his strength. Almost every javelin would take away a life. In this area, it is also invincible and can kill everyone. The addition of Xia Xin and the others also attracted the other party's attention, but he just glanced at it, stopped paying attention, and continued to kill the demon lord in front of him. Xia Xin will naturally not get close to him now and continue to be busy with his hunting business. At this time, every time you kill a lord, you can not only get white stones, but also accumulate ship cores and territory cores, which are the foundation for future development. Chapter 68 Meeting Ogawa Nina. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Due to the addition of Xia Xin and others, the strength of both sides has changed. They were already at a disadvantage and found it even more difficult to hold on, and soon began to lose again. This time, before they could escape, there were ships from the spiritual realm escaping from the side. Behind the escaping ships were ships from the demon realm, chasing after them. The demon lord preparing to flee collided with the fleeing spiritual lord, and the two began to fight and merge. Soon, both sides rushed past each other and joined their own large forces. The two sides briefly stopped fighting to look at each other. Xia Xin saw that there were 3 level 3 wooden ships among the ships that demon realm had just chased. Xia Xin speculated that they should be the opponents of the two teams without him and Bai Shui. Xia Xin then looked at the escaping lords. One of them was also a level 6 wooden boat, a male lord, and one of the top 10 on his side. Xia Xin saw that Li Qier and the others had leaned closer and were talking. Xia Xin also ordered to get closer to each other. "It's all because of you, Ricole. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be defeated." As soon as Xia Xin got closer, he heard the lord accusing Li Qier of wrongdoing, saying that she had pulled him and Bai Shui away, which led to his defeat. Although Xia Xin knew that this was indeed a factor, it was not his fault. Naturally, Li Qier would not acknowledge the other party's accusations against her. "Humph, it's my freedom to cooperate however I want. If you fail, it has nothing to do with me. I can only blame you for your lack of strength." Li Qier directly retorted. "It doesn't matter. Ask these brothers if they agree with your statement." The other party shouted loudly and began to incite the fleeing people. They were originally resentful because of the rout, but now they were incited and found an outlet to vent their anger, and began to blame Li Qier in their hearts. Losers always like to find reasons for their failures instead of reflecting on how to succeed next time. Li Qier's expression changed slightly when she saw this scene, and she didn't dare to arouse public anger. Bai Shui was a little at a loss when facing this situation. After all, in the final analysis, this was indeed their responsibility. As for the lord who could transform into a beast, he had returned to his original appearance and was watching the excitement with interest. Xia Xin knew that this problem must be solved, otherwise the reputation of the 3 of them would suffer a huge blow in the future. After all, the people here are the best of all the new lords, and behind them are more or less small groups with considerable power. "Humph, since you choose to participate in the competition between the 2 domains, you must be mentally prepared to be killed. How can you think of relying on others before entering?" Xia Xin snorted coldly. "You can't give in at this time. Once you give in, problems that are not yours will become your problems." As soon as Xia Xin spoke, the others changed their expression slightly. After all, they did not think about relying on others before coming in. Those who can reach the top, are naturally not fools and understand that no one can be as good as themselves. They were a little irrational just now, but they were incited by others, so they fell into the trap. Now when I heard Xia Xin's words, I was naturally shaken, seeing everyone's appearance. Xia Xin ignored the lord whose expression changed and spoke in front of him. "Don't be incited by others. He is using you as a gun to achieve his goals." The lord said angrily, "What purpose can I have? This is obviously your excuse to excuse yourself." Xia Xin smiled slightly. "Didn't the topic change? Of course you want to use them to accuse us and gain leadership of this fleet." Xia Xin said. Seeing the other party's expression change drastically, Xia Xin knew that he had guessed correctly. After Xia Xin reminded them, everyone naturally reacted, their eyes changed, and they looked at each other warily. When the other party saw this scene, he understood that his plan could no longer be realized. Indeed, as Xia Xin said, he does want to compete for the leadership of this fleet, which will help enhance his prestige and will be of great benefit in the future, but now everything is ruined, he said angrily. "You have no place to speak here. Who are you?" Although he saw the extraordinary performance of Xia Xinluo's ship, he now lost his mind and blurted it out. Xia Xin laughed. The other party was really stupid. "This is an attempt to use force to overwhelm others. You don't even look at how much you weigh, and you dare to press him." Xia Xin. "What? Are you qualified to speak?" Xia Xin spoke softly, unexpectedly. Upon hearing Xia Xin's name, the other party's expression changed drastically, becoming uncertain. "What, Xia Xin? No way, he is actually a real boss. Li Kuo actually joined forces with Xia Xin. It's not really what we guessed. I don't know how strong Mr. Xia is. People around heard Xia Xin reveal his name and started talking about it. Even the Lord who had been watching the show calmed down and looked at Xia Xin seriously. It turns out to be the number one Xia Xin. I've always heard about you, but this is the first time I've actually seen you. He smiled slightly and said to Xia Xin, I am James. I hope we can cooperate in the future. Naturally, Xia Xin would not refuse their kindness. He nodded and said, we will definitely cooperate if we have the opportunity in the future. I'm looking forward to it. Now I'm curious about how you solve your personal problems. Xia Xin was confused. Did he have any personal problems that he needed to solve? Seeing Xia Xin's look, James smiled. He didn't expect that Xia Xin didn't even know what his enemy looked like. He didn't know whether to say that Xia Xin was crazy or that he didn't take his opponent seriously, but he thought it was the latter. No. James pursed his lips. He is Oikawa Nina. What? Wakawa Nina? Xia Xin was shocked. No wonder he said that he had personal problems that needed to be solved. This was really a personal problem and a personal grudge. It's just that Xia Xin didn't expect that Oikawa Nina's true appearance was like this. It seemed that the person he saw in the arena also hid his identity. Xia Xin glanced at Nikawa Nina playfully, but he did not intend to deal with him now. The most important thing at the moment is to deal with the demon lords and the others. If he takes action now, he will appear to have no sense of the overall situation. Secondly, if you don't kill him now, let him kill the demon lord. If you kill him in the end, everything about him will be yours. Now that he is one of his workers, Xia Xin hopes that he will kill more demon lords. At that time, the fruits of victory you can harvest will be more abundant. Oh. Xia Xin said, now is not the time to resolve personal grievances. Let's wait until the demon lord is resolved. P.S. Thank you MMZ Brother Huang who loves steamed grouper fish sent me flowers. Thank you Elder Hui Zongjue Qingfeng, user 303867884, sent me electricity with love. Thank you all for your support. Please click here to remind me of the update and take a moment to give this book a good review. It is very important and I am extremely grateful. Chapter 69 Two-Headed Python with Red Eyes and Blue Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Xin said, pretending to be generous. Hearing Xia Xin's words, the others were slightly startled at first, and then they realized what was going on. Everyone smiled slightly. In any case, now is not the time for internal fighting. It would be best if there can be no disputes. Nakawa Nina also understood Xia Xin's thoughts. He pretended not to know, smiled, and relied on the props in his hands. It was still unclear who would win. In that case, then get ready and let's start the war. James said. It should be so. We still fight on our own, but we must support each other. Ricole said in agreement. But when we start a war with everyone in the demon realm, we can't backstab each other. Oikawa Nina quickly added. He was afraid that Xia Xin would use dirty tricks. Everyone naturally understood what Wakawa Nishina meant, and unanimously looked at Xia Xin. Xia Xin nodded and agreed. Of course, anyone who takes the opportunity to attack an ally will be everyone's enemy. Xia Xin naturally agreed to this condition. He had no intention of attacking during the battle. This would be too damaging to his image. What's more, Oikawa Nishina thinks too highly of himself. With his strength, Xia Xin actually doesn't take Oikawa Nina very seriously. Okay, if that's the case, let's start the war. Bai Shui said. Everyone responded in unison, and immediately launched their wooden boats and began to attack the demon realm. At the same time, the demon realm also began to move. Obviously, they had the same idea as Xia Xin and others, to deal with each other. As he got closer, James fired the first blow, throwing a javelin and directly killing one of the opponents. The battle started again, with chaotic attacks pouring towards each other. The leader of the demon domain on the opposite side continued to drive some flying insects to launch suicide attacks towards Xia Xin and the others. There were also several flying insects that attacked Xia Xin. They were flying insects like bees, but they were the size of a palm. These flying insects were destroyed by Hua's fireball technique before they even got close. Seeing that he could not effectively attack Xia Xin and the others, the Lord began to attack the weaker people around him. After all, the rules of this competition only say that the number of people can be reduced to a certain number, and it does not necessarily have to kill the opponent's leader. Xia Xin did not stop the opponent. He would not protect these strangers. Since he chose to participate in the competition, he had to be prepared to die. Although there will be a lot of gains from killing this demon lord, it is better to kill a few more ordinary lords. After all, a lord is the core of the ship and the core of the territory. Occasionally, there can be unexpected surprises. After all, he had killed some lords in the spiritual domain, so he could get more ship cores and territory cores. Xia Xin didn't think it was too much, he just hoped that the more the merrier. Wakawa Nina is also killing everyone. Among the many lords, his strength is still very strong. Xia Xin ignored him. Anyway, he had let Xiaolan keep an eye on him in secret, so he was not afraid of the other party escaping. As time passed, lords continued to join the battle circle from around. The entire battlefield did not have fewer and fewer people, but more and more people fought. However, as everyone entered the battle circle, the number of people began to gradually decrease, and many people had lost their lives. According to Xia Xin's estimation, if they fight for another hour, they will probably reach the end number. However, at this moment, Xia Xin suddenly received an early warning from Xiaolan, which released a dangerous signal. "Attention, be careful in the sea!" Xia Xin shouted. Windsor and the others immediately became vigilant. Even Li Qier and Bai Shui who were nearby became more cautious after hearing this. Just as Xia Xin finished speaking, the sea water suddenly surged, followed by water arrows flying all over the sky and shooting towards the surroundings. The arrow was as thick as 3 fingers. Many people were killed directly, and some ships were shot through. Xia Xin's building boat was also shot with an arrow, which directly penetrated the side of the boat, leaving a wooden hole. Fortunately, it was not the bottom, otherwise it would have leaked. The sudden change caused the nearby battlefield to stop immediately, and everyone looked towards the sea. I saw a figure gradually appearing in the surging waves. It was 3 meters tall, holding a gilt blue pattern 3-pronged fork in both hands, with a human body and a snake tail, and 2 snake heads. One has red eyes and red lines on his forehead, the other has blue eyes and black spots on the top of his head. The snake is hesitant and has a sinister gaze. The moment everyone saw him, they all released their spiritual eyes to check the information, and then they all gasped and exclaimed. "Fuck! Ruined! What should we do? Who of us can deal with it?" Xia Xin was also shocked when he saw the information. He couldn't solve this problem. 2-headed python with red eyes and blue eyes, purple, rating, 14. Power, 112. Agility, 114. Defense, 113. Skills, floating water, water arrow, fire shield, fireball, water cage, fire cloud falling from the sky. Damn it, it has an attribute of about 110 points. The most powerful Windsor here only has more than 80 points of strength including bonuses, and its other attributes are even worse. What's even more perverted is that this sea monster has a lot of skills, including control, defense and attack, which clearly shows that it is a tough opponent. Brothers, if you have any good things, don't hide them. Use them quickly, otherwise you won't have a chance later. Xia Xin shouted, "Now we have to unite as one, otherwise no one will be able to escape unscathed." It was so cruel. Xia Xin originally thought that this was a separate area for the competition between the 2 areas. He didn't expect that there were sea beasts coming out to participate, and they were so perverted. This would kill him. Others naturally understood this truth, and most of them calmed down after a brief panic and began to attack, but some began to run towards the election. However, before they could go far, some sea beasts also appeared in other places, and as soon as they emerged, they began to attack the surrounding ships. Now everyone has realized that this was arranged by Heavenly Mother, otherwise how could it be such a coincidence? With no escape or avoidance, everyone began to concentrate on dealing with the sea beast in front of them. However, this is not easy. When many people's attacks fell on the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python, they could not harm him at all. If he encounters an attack that threatens him, he immediately releases a fire shield to block it, followed by a water cage control, and then a water arrow and fireball attack. He swung his tail, dashed left and right, and almost no one was his opponent. At this moment, a lord suddenly threw out a small red net. The small net quickly grew in size after being released, and then enveloped the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python. The red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python kept struggling after being trapped, but failed to break free. The lord was overjoyed when he saw this, and shouted loudly, "Brothers, hurry up and attack. This prop of mine is one-time use and only effective for 5 minutes. P.S. Thank you for the good book review. Chapter 70 resolved. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When the others saw this, they immediately took the opportunity to attack. Windsor and the others also continued to release attacks, but even so, they could not solve each other, and most of them were blocked by the opponent's fire shield. Seeing this scene, everyone's expressions were extremely ugly. Soon, the prop lost its effect, and the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python broke free. He neighed with both hands, extremely angry, then raised his right hand high and spit out syllables quickly from his mouth. I saw a cloud gathering on the horizon, gradually turning red, and then falling into an area densely populated by ships. Everyone and the ships they were on were ignited by red flames. In a matter of seconds, a number of people were killed. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. This skill is a bit too abnormal. It is a range attack and the damage is high. It can cover a large area in one hit. Fortunately, after releasing this blow, the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python also began to pant. Obviously, this blow was not casual for him, and it was quite costly. At this moment, Bai Shui took action. She crushed a green ball in her hand. The green ball turned into wisps of green gas and was inhaled into her mouth and nose. Her face turned crimson, and then she waved her staff, and an arrow wrapped in thick green vines shot out, directly piercing the opponent's red-eyed head. Blood splattered, and everyone who saw this scene was surprised by Bai Shui's powerful attack power, and he actually hit the opponent's head directly. The red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python roared in pain, and the remaining head stared at Bai Shui viciously. The snake's tail swung and approached Bai Shui. Bai Shui's expression changed, not because the other party was approaching her, but because when she attacked, she thought that it would attract the other party's hatred. Her expression changed because she saw that the head she shot through was slowly recovering. Isn't this a useless attack on his own? After Xia Xin saw this scene, although he was a little surprised by Bai Shui's attack power, he was even more troubled by the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python. Xia Xin then took out one of his special props, the poison element bomb, hoping that it would work. The reason why Xia Xin didn't take it out just now was because the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python was not injured at all. He was worried that the bomb would not be able to break through the defense and the toxin would not be able to invade and cause huge damage. Now that the opponent's head has suffered huge damage, it is the right time to use this item. I hope that the toxin can cause huge damage to him along with the blood, otherwise there is really no good way. But now the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python is moving too fast and he is not sure that he can hit the opponent at all, so he must control him again. Whoever can control the other party, I have a way. Xia Xin shouted. James and Oikawa Nina said at the same time, I'll do it. Then they said together, come together. Because Xia Xin and Bai Shui were very close, the two drove the wooden boat closer. Xia Xin didn't have time to think about why Oikawa Nina was so enthusiastic at this time, but he was not worried because he still had Dark Moon and Xiaolan as backups. After the two of them got close, they both took out a prop from their hands. Oikawa Nina's was a red talisman, and James's was a small collar. James took the lead and threw the collar, and it automatically flew above the head of the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python, expanding, falling, shrouding, and shrinking. The collar turned into a halo and controlled the two-headed python with red and blue eyes in place. Quick! James shouted. Seeing this, Xia Xin took action quickly and threw the poison element bomb. There was a sound, and a ball of purple mist appeared. making a sizzling sound when it touched the flesh and blood of the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python. The red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python let out a painful cry, and as he screamed, purple mist began to enter his mouth and nose. He roared in pain, releasing water arrows and fireballs around him from time to time, and suddenly he looked at Xia Xin. The pain took over his mind, and now he just wanted to kill the person who caused him pain. Moreover, he felt that the poison was invading his body, and he would die soon. He wanted to take this person to be buried with him. Seeing the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python staring at him with hatred and approaching him quickly, Xia's heart skipped a beat. He didn't die immediately. Stop him, Xia Xin said, then immediately released the freezing technique. However, the opponent was too fast and the skill did not fall on him. Windsor immediately gave the opponent a confusion skill to interfere with the opponent's judgment. At the same time, Xia Roy and the others also started to block it. Okawa Nina, stop him quickly. At this time, Riko shouted loudly nearby. However, Okawa Nina smiled slightly. Although he released the item in his hand, he released it towards Xia Xin. The talisman turned into a stream of light and fell quickly on Xia Xin. Xia Xin felt as if his body was being squeezed by the surrounding air, unable to move at all. Damn! I'm still in your trap. Xia Xin cursed secretly. What are you doing? Oikawa Nina. Bai Shirley Kerr said angrily. At the same time, James also looked at Oikawa Nina with some disdain. When everyone saw this scene, some shouted angrily, while others were gloating. After all, many people hoped that Xia Xin, the first one, would die. Even James, although he looks down on Wawa Nishina's behavior, but if Xia Xin can be solved, he will not have any objection. I was just too nervous, so I missed it. It was not intentional at all, Oikawa Nina said, pretending to be in pain, but the smile in his eyes had exposed his excited heart. Although Bai Shui and Li Qir were very angry, they had no choice but to release some control skills to try to stop them. Although Xia Xin encountered this change, he was still shocked. He could already see that the speed of the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python was slowing down, and he was weakening rapidly. The two-headed python with red eyes and blue eyes looked at the building ship in front of him. Because his magic power had been exhausted, his tail whipped the sea surface hard. The whole body jumped up high and landed towards Xia Xion's building ship. Seeing the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python that was about to land, Sherpan held a giant shield in his hand and stood in front of Xia Xion. With a clang, the stone plate was crushed directly by his feet, which broke through the deck and fell into it. At the moment when the red-eyed and blue-eyed double-headed python was blocked and sluggish, Windsor Huahua Xia Rui followed up and took control of the opponent. Immediately afterwards, Dark Moon appeared, swung the wind-breaking blade, used the Dark Blade skill and the Dark Erosion skill, and directly hit the opponent's other head. However, even so, when the opponent was about to die, he still waved his weapon and beat Dark Moon Xia Xion away. Dark Moon and Xia Xion collided directly with the inner side of the rear ship, vomiting blood. At this moment, outside the side of the ship where Xia Xion was, two tentacles suddenly stretched out and wrapped around Xia Xion's Dark Moon. Please update, please comment, please give me a small gift.